How's it going, everybody? It's Adam here. I figured the front of my house, right in front of my front fence, was looking pretty good, and it's probably not going to look any better than this year. So I thought I would do a quick little tour of just this little spot. Starting here, we have these little yew bushes. This variety is called yew Densiformis. It's been in the ground just since the spring, but it's looking pretty healthy, and it's put on some new growth over the season. I've got these two, and I've got two of them all the way down on the other end. I'm sort of using them as bookends to this little space. Right here, and all the way down the front of the fence, I have some Crocosmia Lucifer. The Crocosmia Lucifer has already flowered, and I cut off the flower seed heads so they don't seed all over the place. They look pretty good, and they started off real small, and yeah, they'll fill in pretty nice. I'm hoping that they'll fill in the whole front of this, but if it doesn't do what I want it to do, then we'll see. Maybe I'll move them, consolidate them, or something. I don't really know. Right here we have my Paperbark maple. This tree is awesome. It's been in the ground for, I want to say, 3 years now. I would say it's a good 10 feet tall, maybe 11 feet. For those of you who've never seen one of these, one of the coolest things about this tree is the bark. It just peels off like this paper. It has this awesome cinnamon color. The leaves have this really rich green, and the two together look really awesome. I will say that the bark, as it ages, gets a little bit more cinnamon colored, but since this is sort of fresh, then it's a little on the lighter side. Down here we have some blue star creeper. I wanted something that could grow in rocks. I wanted something that would spread. That'd be a little bit of a ground cover. I don't really want to use it as a complete ground cover, but I wanted a nice little section here to be just sort of covered and sort of prevent weeds, and eventually these should grow all together. If not, I'll actually just put a few more in. These started off as a 6-pack, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6-pack. From the clearance section at Home Depot. They were looking real sad, but they bounced back really nice. I think these are slightly drought tolerant. I've been watering them every day. I've been watering everything in this bed pretty much every day because it's pretty new. So I'm thinking that in the future, as these are established, I could get away with once or twice a week, maybe 2 or 3 times a week if it's hot, but they seem to be doing really well. I'm actually considering mixing some into my grass. As you can see, it's brown. Where I live, there's no rain hardly in the summer, and it looks great all winter long because we don't get freezing temperatures. It rains a lot, but at some point it just turns brown, and it stays brown all summer long. And I was thinking that I could either put clover or blue star creeper into it to sort of green it up and help with just making it look nicer. And there's somebody around the corner from me who has blue star creeper mixed into their grass, and I think it looks awesome. Some people probably wouldn't, but I do. Next up we have my first successful attempt at planting some sweet pea. This sweet pea I started indoors this year. I tried last year, totally failed. I didn't know what I was doing this year. I didn't know what I was doing again, but I knew a little bit more. I started them, early spring, late winter even, maybe February. I started them inside and got them started and planted them. It took them several months to really get going in the ground, but once they got going, they really got going. I know this isn't the normal way people usually grow sweet peas, but I didn't really want to do the trellis thing, so I just sort of planted it by the foot of this bench, and I just sort of let it go wild, and I put it up through the slats of the bench, and I think it looks really cool. I don't really like things that look super formal, and well, there's some evidence for that. I've got another pink one right here that really didn't take off at all. It's just started doing this within the last month, and it's fine. It's doing okay, but we'll see. Next up, we have a purple, is this called a purple fountain weeping beech? I think that's what it's called. Maybe it's purple something. I'll put the name on the screen if I got that wrong. It's not purple right now. I think these things like a little bit more shade, but it's in a really full sun spot. It's starting to get scorched a little because it's been quite hot here. I try to keep it watered. You know, when the leaves first come out in the spring, they're kind of the blazing orange color. Then they turn red, and the past couple of years it's been in this spot. It eventually turns green as the season progresses. This thing has been transplanted. I planted it over there once. I planted it over there about a year later, and I planted it here. So it took several years to really get established and start growing. This is the first year I've seen any growth on it. All of that sort of hanging stuff there is pretty new. About 18 inches, that's new, but it's looking pretty good, and it's looking happy enough. And I'm just gonna leave it there and see what it does. These two guys are gonna end up being moved, but this is platinum blonde lavender. This one is not looking so hot. That one's looking pretty good. I just don't like how it, I don't know. I don't want it there. I'll probably end up putting it somewhere else. That's a really nice plant. It looks really nice, but it just needs to be somewhere else. Here we have some Forster grass, Forster fountain grass, I can't remember. I'll put the name up. Common stuff, really common stuff. This was actually in a planter in a backyard, and I divided it and put it here. That's why this one's sort of leaning there. I'm sure when I cut it back and it grows back next year, it will look much better, but you know, it's a good spot for it. It adds some motion to the yard and some movement, and yeah, looks good. These here, I just needed something to fill the space. I had a whole sort of mixed variety pack of these petunias that I was going to put into a hanging basket, but I decided that I wanted to use a different variety. Those super petunias up there, and I'll probably talk more about those in a different tour, but these things have just gone gangbusters. The white ones, I haven't deadheaded these hardly. I did for about the first month, and these white ones are just going nuts. This one started off sort of white, then it had these pink ones. Alright, so these petunias have not been deadheaded, like I said, but the pink ones seem to not be as happy as the white ones. I mean, these things have looked like this pretty much all year, just absolutely covered. I haven't really deadheaded. These ones, same, I've done the exact same work too, and they just don't look quite as full and happy, but you know what, they still look pretty good, all things considered. Next up is probably my absolutely favorite part of anything I've ever done in this yard. I built this little miniature sort of fake phone pole power line thing. I built this several years ago at this point, and every single year I have planted these Thunbergia, or black-eyed Susan vine, every single year. One year I've gotten it to grow about halfway up the pole. A couple years just didn't really work all that well, and this year they've done really well. I was really hoping to get them up it is now, you know, mid-August. I was really hoping to get them up high enough to go down these power lines, or the, you know, these cables here. Probably isn't going to happen. However, we still have probably a month or so that it'll grow, I would imagine. I mean, we got one that's trying to go around, and maybe we'll see that happen. But I think we're sort of reaching the maximum of the height that these things are probably going to get. I don't know. Next year I'll probably try something other than chicken wire. That might help. They're spending a lot of their energy just bundling up around the bottom here, and then it gets real thin. And, you know, we've got a few guys that are really racing to the top here, but it's going pretty slow. Right here we have a heath. I can't remember what variety this is. Probably going to end up being moved, and I'm going to end up putting something here. I really wanted to do a hydrangea, but probably gets a little too much sun. More Crocosmia. I had a third black-eyed Susan vine here. I ended up taking it out because I was thinking that I wanted to try a honeysuckle next year. Maybe try putting a honeysuckle up this pole next year. I don't know if I'll end up doing that. I like the idea, but you know, honeysuckles, they don't get very full, and I just like how lush this looks. And I just don't think I'm gonna like how the honeysuckle looks. I've got a honeysuckle growing up a trellis that I kind of made in the back, attached it to the building. We'll see how that does, but I don't even think I'm gonna end up keeping that either. Two more of these yew bushes, and that's about it. This here was the first tree I ever planted on this property, and you know, if I could go back and do it again, I would definitely not choose this variety. This is just a Cleveland pear, or I don't know. It's one of the new improved varieties of Cleveland pear. I can't remember exactly what variety it is. There's nothing wrong with this tree. It has really nice white flowers in the spring. It's a good solid tree. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's not very inspiring. I don't know. It's fine. It's just, I think, you know, if I could do it again, I would probably pick something a bit more eye-catching. Another thing is that every single tree lining this across the street is the exact same variety. Maybe after they all mature, that would end up looking really nice and be a nice sort of counterpoint to the ones across the street, but who actually knows? I have no idea. I've considered pulling that out and just starting with another one, but you know, it's a good tree and there's nothing wrong with it. All right, so that is going to conclude the tour of the front of my house. It's still in its infancy, I would say. Most of this stuff, actually everything up here except for the 2 trees was planted this year, everything. So it'll take some years and just time to mature and fill in, but I'll probably do another little tour here in the future once everything is a bit more mature, and there might be some changes in the future. I might put something perennial right here, just so I don't have to always maybe water it, or I don't really know, because I'm always gonna have to water this, because I'll probably always do the black-eyed Susan vines here, but it's not too hard to water this when those are right there getting watered anyway. Anyway, that is the end of it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks. Bye.